Okay, done. Yeah, it's working. So, um, so memory palace or mind palace, as I was discussing, is a technique through which we can remember things. And it could be anything. It could be numbers, it could be pictures, it could be our grocery list, it could be poetry, it could be, any equation. So we can remember everything through this technique called Mind Palace. So a couple of years back, I was watching a series, and the series name was Sherlock. Benedict Cumberbatch acted in the role of Sherlock Holmes. I don't know whether you have seen that series or not. It's a detective series of Sherlock Holmes, which was a very famous detective character, which was written by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. So in that particular series, yes. So in that particular series, I found that the Sherlock Holmes used this technique called memory palace or mind palace to remember everything, where the crime took place and all the information. And then I saw another old movie of Sherlock Holmes, and probably the actor was Jeremy Brett, something like that, Jeremy Brett. And there also I found a similar practice of Sherlock Holmes, you know, uh, with practicing this mind palace to remember everything. Now, so what is this mind palace? Uh, so mind palace or memory palace is a ancient practice to remember almost everything, like I said earlier. Numbers, figures, pictures, grocery list, poetry, a large volume of data or informations we can memorize. Okay. Uh, so also this memory palace is known as the method of Loci. Okay, the method of Loci. So Loci is a Latin term which means places. So in this memory palace technique, what we are going to do, we are going to remember the object not just as it is, but we are going to associate it with something, with a physical uh, place. Okay, later on I will tell you exactly how we can do that. So that is why this memory palace is also known as method of Loki, and it's a very ancient form of memory techniques. It's not new. uh, Earlier days, like 500 years back or 1000 years back, printing a book was not a easy job. And we know that the printing book started from 14th century, like after the Gutenberg. And even at those time, just to print one book, it would take 15 days, 30 days. And many scribes, many people had to put hard labor to print a book. And before that, we had scrolls. You must have seen scrolls, the old scrolls or the old manuscripts, sometimes made by all those some manuscripts were made by tea leaves. And even in ancient times, like in Greek, they used to procure some papyrus from Egypt. So these were the older form of manuscript and older form of scrolls. And after 13th 14th century, we have got the books. And as far as I have read, the Bible was the first book which was printed, having all the editions compiled into one single book. And then later on, we can see all the different books and the libraries and some other places where we can, content information as an external memory. And even nowadays, we use laptop, we use tab and mobile phone and whatnot, and all has its own memory chip. Okay, and where we can store volume of data. Like nowadays, we use laptop of 512 GB, 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte, something. Yeah, right. Like Sunny said, right now we are living in an information age. So where storing the information is pretty easy. That was not the case in ancient times. So at that point of time, people had to remember things. People had to memorize everything. And there were people who were trained and who were, given this job to memorize things, and they were known as, like mental athlete. So their job was to memorize large volume of data. Yes, so that is today we are going to discuss that, Sunny, that in the age of Google, can we still remember? Even when we were children, when we were very young, we used to remember at least 5 to 6 or 10 landline numbers. But after this phone came, this mobile phone came, we forgot all the numbers that we used to remember. I still remember my landline number, and I used to remember 10, 15 numbers. But the moment I had a mobile phone and mobile phone had a option to store mobile numbers, I forgot all the things. I only remember my old landline number right now. And I think most of you have the similar condition where you can memorize only 4 to 5 number and not more than that. But earlier days, we used to remember 10, 15, 20 numbers. So just because we were not using that faculties of our mind, of our brain, we started forgetting all those things. So in this memory palace or in the mind palace technique, we actually we are trying to actually uh, use our visual memory, or we call it spatial memory. Nowadays, a lot of research is going on in spatial computing where the 3D architecture is being used, like this Second Life, like this metaverse. There are a number of things. Nowadays we have a device called MetaQuest and some VR goggles through which we use different kind of virtual world, which is also the example of spatial computing where they use 3D architecture. So in similarly in memory palace, we use our spatial memory or visual memory. We visualize the object as a 3D form, and we make the object more vivid, more weird and unusual, because our memory has a tendency to remember things which are unusual in nature. If it is very normal, our memory tend to forget that thing pretty quick. Okay, so if we talk about the history of this mind palace, or in this memory palace, so it was not new, it was actually quite old in nature. Okay, just give me 1 second. Yeah, so uh, in ancient Greek and okay, Arpeggio, thanks for being here. Uh, have a nice time. So in ancient Greek, even in ancient Rome, people used to have this technique, and there is one person who was quite popular for this particular thing, and his name was Cicero. So it has been going on for many years. Okay, not it's a not very recent thing. It has been going on for many years. Like ancient Greek orators, I talked about Cicero, and another person who was quite popular, who used to have this technique called Simonides. Okay, but we actually do not know who was a creator of this memory palace technique. I mean, it was lost uh, in history. But Cicero and Simonides are those two people who are credited with using very similar technique to memorize long speeches and poetry. Even in medieval times, many people used to memorize long volume of theological, like script, theological writings. Like in India, there's a sacred book called Vedas, Veda, and there are four different kind of Veda: Yajur Veda, Sam Veda, Rig Veda, Atharva Veda. Even these Vedas were not written initially. It was orally transmitted from one generation to another generation. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Liz. Even when I was in schools, we had to do the same thing. We had to memorize and we had to recite the poems. And in earlier times, the the capacity to memorize was seen as a very noble quality or a very enlightening quality, because that was the main faculty of our brain through which we transmitted informations or teachings or wisdom from one generation to another generation. Just like I said, in India, the ancient Vedas was orally transmitted from one generation to another generation, and it has been going on for 2000 years, 2000, more than 2000 years, and after that only it was written. Similarly, it happened with Torah, you know, a sacred book in Judaism. Similar thing happened with some part of Bible as well. Similar thing happened with some part of Buddhism books like Tripitaka and some other sutras. So the disciples of Buddha used to memorize those sutras and those hymns, those mantras, and later, maybe after uh, many years, 500 years or 1000 years, yes, Quran is also memorized in the madrasa, which is the holy book of Islam. So, if we study all this Quran, Bible, Torah, Tripitaka, Vedas, all these things were orally transmitted from one generation to another generation until the printing press came into existence and book became cheaper. And earlier days, books were not cheaper like we have, right now. Right now, we can buy a book even with $1. That was not the case 500 years back and 600 years back, and only elite people, rich people, used to have the libraries in their house. Now, many people have libraries in their house. So uh, we have lost this potential to memorize things inside our brain, and our brain is a like our brain has the capacity and has the power for 1,000 supercomputers. The way we retain information, and it's not surprising how we store information, it is surprising how we find information, because our memories are very non-linear in nature, and it has its own indexing system, it has its own association system, and even the recent scientists cannot make a computer like our brain as of now. Maybe in future they will create a computer with the same capacity with our brain. So because we did not practice, we have lost this this potential to remember everything in our life. So when we talk about memory palace or mind palace, so we were just talking about history of this particular thing. Now I'm coming into the actual technique of mind palace. So when we are trying to, so what is mind palace? Mind palace could be any structure, architecture, building, park, just a road. But a mind palace works better in a palace-like structure. That is why it is called mind palace. But we can start with our own house. So mind palace technique works with a structure or a building where we have visited several times, where we have stayed for a long time, where we visit every day. So it could be our childhood home or the house where we are staying right now. It could be our workplace, like our office. It could be the schools where we are going every day. So you are free to choose any mind palace as you like, be it school, be it your office, be it your home where you are staying, and your childhood home, or any place is fine. So First is the layout of the mind palace. Okay, so the important thing is to visualize the place in our mind without actually seeing it in real life. So what we are going to do, yeah, exactly, gives a meaning to my home is my palace. Exactly, right. So this is again an associative memory. So where I am associating my home with the palace, so that we can remember this word, mind palace, later on, in the future. So this is itself an example which Lee said is an example of adding more information to the object so that later we can find it, very easily. So whenever you just remember this particular sentence, my home is my palace, you can remember this word called mind palace or memory palace. Okay, so first is we need to visualize the home. And since it is your home, you can visualize easily. You don't have to force it because you are staying in your home for a long time. You know every nook and every corner. You know where the furnitures are. You know where the TVs, where the fridge, your kitchen, your living room, your bedroom, your toilet, your rooftop, the backyard, the front door, the back door, where the flower vase is, where the you put your keys, everything is there in your mind. So now what you need to do, you need to visualize. Okay, the more detailed, the better it is. Okay, so for example, you are visualizing your house, you visualize all the room, like the living room, the bedroom, the work area, the kitchen, the toilet. Now, the second thing is, this is the layout part, that how we are going to visualize the layout of our home. The second part, which is, and also the establishing the permanent items which is there in my house, like furniture, TV, washing machine, refrigerator, fireplace. Why establishing the existing furniture and existing things are important? Because we are going to associate the object with this thing in our living room or bedroom or in toilet. So if I have to remember a book like Moonwalking with Einstein, I might place it just beside the television where an Einstein's speech is being broadcasted, and my niece is doing moonwalking on the floor. So I am just adding more information to the thing that I need to remember. And when I will visualize this particular scene that Einstein is giving, it's an old interview of Einstein is giving a speech on a TV, and my niece is doing moonwalking. Like Michael Jackson was very famous for moonwalking, and she is moonwalking on the floor. Immediately, I will remember the name of the book, Moonwalking with Einstein. So I just given you an example. So, and whenever we are placing any object, we need to make it more vivid, unusual, bizarre, weird, ugly, something which is like fantasy like. Because if you place the object in memory palace just like a normal thing, you might forget it. So that is why it is also said that in memory palace or in mind palace, whatever object you are putting, you try to animate it, not like a fixed picture, but try to animate it. If you suppose the other day I saw a clown with a red nose would be more trickling than your niece. Exactly, Liz, exactly. So, yes, strike it. So, instead of my niece, if I visualize a clown doing a moonwalking, and on the television, the Einstein was giving a speech, the moment I visualize it, I can remember the book that I have placed beside the television set, that is Moonwalking with Einstein. So, that these are the thumb rule of memory palace. we need to think more vivid, and you can use your own creativity. But whatever you are, the object you are placing, it should be animating, it should be vivid in nature, weird in nature, bizarre in nature, very unusual and very out of the world in nature. Then your mind will easily memorize this thing. Okay. Now, after that, uh, we can uh, later on, I will just give you an example of a grocery list of 10 items. So after this thing, we need to determine our route. Now, this is also very important. When we are visualizing our living, our house, I need to fix my route through which I will enter the front door, I will go to the kitchen, then I will go to the living room, then I will go to a bedroom, then I will go to the toilet, and then I will again come out of the toilet, or maybe I will again take the same route to the through the bedroom to living room, and then maybe the outside. So for each of you, the route could be different, and that is fine, but we need to fix a proper route. It should not be like I'm just when I'm visualizing, I'm just walking aimlessly at different places in my house. That will not work. Why will it will not work? Because the route actually works as a indexing, uh, very similar to beside the television I have kept my book. So whenever we are visualizing a mind palace, we also need to fix a route, that from where I will enter my house, what are the route, and what are the furniture that I will pass by. So we need to determine a particular route inside my home when I am visualizing the mind palace. And now the final part is placing object inside that mind palace, placing object inside my house. So four things are there. First is the layout of our memory palace, the layout of my room, what are the rooms are there. Second is what are the furnitures are there, the permanent items which are there. Okay, the furniture, the refrigerator, washing machine, television, bookshelf, all these things we can uh, visualize. Third thing is determine our route, where we will enter and from where we will go out, and the route that we are going to take. And the last thing is placing the object inside the palace, and this is where it becomes very interesting. So what I am going to do, I have taken a list, a grocery list. So through this mind palace technique, you can remember anything, but it becomes little difficult when it comes to 100-digit number, or 20 phone numbers at a time, or 52 cards in a deck. So that needs to, uh, if you want to remember those kind of things, then you need to follow different kind of techniques, which is mentioned in this particular book called Moonwalking with Einstein. You can check that later on, but today we are just going to do a very simple thing. So there is a grocery list, and what are the items in that grocery list? So first is milk, bread, eggs, cheese, apples, bananas, carrots, onions, chicken, and pasta. So suppose, for example, my wife has given me this list, and I have to go to the supermarket, or I have to go to a departmental store, and I have to buy this item. So without looking at the list, how I can remember all these objects to the departmental store and buy the product? So that is a quick example of memory palace, or memory palace technique. So first thing, I have already visualized my mind palace before, and it gets better with practice. So every day, if we practice this mind palace technique for 5 to 10 minutes to 15 minutes, it becomes better. So our mental muscle gets stronger and stronger. So the second thing is, we have already established all the permanent items like the furnitures and other uh, different stuffs in the house. We have determined the root, and now I am going to place all this object. So what I have told before, that we have to think a very vivid imagery. Okay, the more detailed and unusual the images or the animation, the better. And we have to create strong association. The connection between items and the location should be memorable, funny, and also meaningful. And then we need to practice it. So what I am going to put, maybe the first item in the grocery list is milk. Okay, so what I can do, uh, I can imagine a giant milk bottle standing in front of my fridge, and maybe singing a milk jingle. Okay, we hear different jingle in the advertisement, and maybe that giant milk bottle is standing in front of the fridge and singing the jingle. So the moment we visualize a giant milk bottle, which is unusual, we do not see a giant milk bottle almost of a height of a person. So the moment you visualize a 6 feet milk bottle, uh, you know, singing jingle, it will be memorable. Yes, you can you can imagine sound, you can even imagine smell. So more sensual information you add, the better it will become. Okay, please. So you can add um, sound, you can add smell, you can also visualize how it feels to touch something, because our, yes, yes, doing the twist, right? Because our mind has its own eye. That is why in different poetry, in different literature, it says mind's eye, because we have the power to imagine and visualize, because we have got very developed neofrontal cortex, which is not there in other animals, in other species. Since we have this neofrontal cortex, very advanced neofrontal cortex, we have the power to imagine and visualize. Okay, so we can imagine that a big, giant milk bottle standing in front of the fridge and singing a jingle and dancing twist, just like Liz said. And then uh, now, now I'm thinking about the kitchen. Okay, so first I entered my house and I went to the kitchen, and there I found the milk. And then I found that on the table, or maybe like just beside the refrigerator, just beside the milk, uh, a giant braid performing a ballet dance, or a giant braid doing a ball dance with the milk. The more vivid, more unusual, better it is. So maybe the loaf of bread is doing ball dance with the milk. Okay, so the moment you visualize this particular imagery, that the milk and the loaf of bread is doing ball dance, you can easily remember two items, that is milk and bread. Okay, now what is the third item? The eggs. Okay, so when it comes to eggs, you can find out some, uh, the picture of eggs hatching into tiny, colorful birds that fly around your kitchen. So maybe at the corner of the kitchen, a picture of eggs hatching into tiny, colorful birds, and those colorful birds are glowing. They're, making some sound, and those colorful birds are actually flying around the the milkman, and the loaf of bread as well. So I'm actually creating a movie. You are the director, you are creating the movie to imagine all these items, and to place all these items into your memory palace, so that you can recall when it is needed. So three things are done. The last thing is cheese inside the kitchen, and then we will go to the living room, and then we will go to the bedroom. So when it comes to cheese, we can see a giant wheel of cheese rolling down your kitchen floor, or maybe a big mat which is made of cheese, upon which the milkman and the loaf of bread is dancing. So the milk, the big bottle of milk, or we can imagine a milkman, or the big bottle of milk is dancing with a loaf of bread on a mat or a carpet which is made of cheese. And maybe those cheese are molten. Okay, so very bizarre picture, but it will help you to remember things later on. And the chickens are being hatched, and some colorful little, you know, birds or little chickens are flying around the entire room. A colorful, glowing, small hens are, just flying around the entire room. So, kitchen is done. I have already visualized a mental movie for the kitchen, and I have placed four items. What are those four items? Milk, bread, eggs, and cheese. Okay, now what are the next item is apples, bananas, and carrots. And for that, I'm going to my living room. So when I have, yes, yeah, the scene can be created easily in Second Life, right? So now I'm going to living room because that is the route I have determined that first I will go to kitchen, then I will go to living room, then I will go to bedroom. You can add different layers to it. Then you will go to toilet, then you will go to rooftop, then you will go to backyard. It's up to you how you are imagining, but the route should be fixed beforehand. So now I'm going to the living room, and there I'm imagining you know, a growing tree or a tree growing out of your sofa with a dozens of glowing apples hanging from its branches. Or maybe you can imagine like okay, in 2016, I had a group of university students as interns. They made a memory palace here. Oh, okay, that's great. Good to know that, Liz. Thank you for sharing. So you can imagine an apple which has come out of your sofa, an apple tree which has come out of your sofa. Again, it is unusual in nature, so your memory will register it, your mind will register it, and maybe all the apple, uh, the tree is laden with glowing apples, not the normal apples, glowing apples. Okay, so sofa, I have placed this object called apple. From this couch, from this sofa, a tree has come out, and it is laden with glowing apples. And maybe some sounds are also coming, some smells of fresh apples are also, you can also inhale the fresh aroma of apples, or you can inhale the rotten apples. Both way it will work because our mind has a tendency to register some scenery, to register some object, either which is very good in nature or which is very ugly in nature, not normal. Okay, because normal thing mind tend to forget very easily. So after apple, then comes the bananas. Okay, so we can visualize some monkeys swinging from the ceiling or chandelier eating bananas. Okay, and you can use your own creativity. It's up to you. Like some monkeys are um, playing inside your living room with big bananas in their hand, or maybe they are using the banana, or they are throwing the banana, or they are holding the banana like a gun and they are shooting each other. Anything, any bizarre image that is coming to your mind, it's fine to remember. And then comes the carrots. Okay, so you can place the carrots on the floor, or you can place the carrots on the flower vase. So in the flower vase, there must be a flower vase in your living room or anything where some big carrots has come out from that flower vase, or maybe some carrot has been sprouted from your floor, and there are some some rabbits are there, or some rabbits are biting that carrot. whatever picture you feel like, which is unusual in nature, you can visualize that. Okay, so here also in the living room, we have placed three objects: apples, bananas, and carrots. And then finally, three more items are needed. Three more items we need to place. One is onions, one is chicken, and one is pasta. Okay, so for onions, we are going to bedroom. If we put too many objects at one location, it would be difficult for us to remember. So we can use different corner of our house, different rooms of our house, different areas of our house. So for three more objects, I'm going to my bedroom. So the first object I'm going to put there in the bedroom is onions, and I'm going to put the heaps of onion, or maybe um, a giant onion under our bed. Okay, crying, because whenever we cut onions, we cry. So I'm put, and we all have a monster. We all were afraid when we were children that there is a monster under my bed. I'm still afraid sometimes, when I'm staying in an unknown place. So maybe uh, there is a giant onion. Yes, yes. So there is a giant onion under my bed which is crying, because when we cut onions, we cry. So uh, this is we have placed another object, and then comes the chicken. So I can picture that again the chicken are flying around, or the chickens are playing something, a game, like chickens are playing tic-tac-toe on a board or something like that. And the last item is pasta. So I can just visualize that the pastas are also dancing inside the room, or maybe the pastas are wrestling with each other, and or maybe the pastas are fighting with each other, and maybe the pastas are injured and the bloods are coming, because sometimes we use sauce with pasta. So anyway, the more creative we are, the better it is. So this memory palace teaches us that it's not about our IQ or our inborn capacity to remember, but how creative we are. Because memory palace is all about how we put creativity in the object that we are going to place inside our memory palace. So in this particular way, I have visualized the entire grocery list by milk, bread, eggs, cheese, apples, bananas, carrots, onions, chicken, and pasta. So we can start with this small grocery list. We can practice. Yes, yes. So the moment we are creating this mental movie, this inside our mind, and visualize the memory palace, and having all these characters like bread is dancing with the big bottle of milk uh, on the mat made by cheese, and there are some eggs is being hatched, some sound is going on. Similarly, in the living room, there is a onion, there is a carrots, there is a apples. In the bedroom, there is onions, and there is uh, chicken and pasta. Similar way, you can remember each and everything. So I have just wanted to give you a little glimpse of what this mind palace is, and later on you can practice. You don't need anything to practice. You can just close your eyes. You can visualize your mind palace, just like Sherlock Holmes, and you can play with it. Mind palace could be many things, like the more you try to remember, then you need to have more mind palace. Then you can include your school, your college, your house, your childhood home. Uh, yes, yes. So Sunny has given a link. You can check that. And sometimes, uh, if your mind palace is full, you can use another mind palace. And sometimes you can empty your mind palace. You can empty your mind palace of the furniture, fridge, and all these things. You can stack different furniture, different. So you can play with it, and it's a wonderful mental game that you can do at the same time. It will improve our memory to remember things. But if you want to uh, learn how to uh, remember complex data like alphanumeric, like volumes of like poetry, like prose, all these things. And then you can read this book. And there are some other books as well. This particular books, Joshua Ford talked about how he became the memory tournament champion. So that was all about today's session. Now, if you want to ask me a few questions, this is not related to mindfulness. Again, let me tell you. But since I found it very fascinating a week back, and I had talked about it in the session, and Liz also was very interested, and other people also very interested. So I thought about covering this technique called Mind Palace. From next week, again, we will keep on talking about mindfulness, and also if we find something quite interesting which boost our brain, because that is the topic, that is the theme in this particular place called Inspiration Island. If we find anything which boosts our brain, our memory, um, I can cover that, because nowadays I'm exploring many exercise which boost our brain, and I found a few exercise which boost our brain. One such exercise is juggling. Okay, juggling 2 3 balls. So we will try to cover all those topics in future mindfulness session as well. All those, although those are not related to mindfulness, but it is good for our mental health or brain health. Yeah. So any question? Any question? If you have any question, you can ask me, or if you want to share your experience, because I also learn from you, then please do that. And then we will wrap up today's session. I'm sorry for taking long time. Sometimes I lose the awareness of time and I just keep on talking. I apologize for that. Okay, any question quickly, if you have any questions on mind palace or mental palace. If anyone is speaking, let me know. I need to increase your volume then, or you can just type your question. Ah, even I was not aware, but after seeing the Sherlock Holmes series and the movie and reading this book, I came to know about this technique, and it's a lost art of memorizing things, which ancient people used to do. But since we are not practicing it, we have lost this ability. And it's not about how intelligent we are, it's about how creative we are, because we put that creativity on, making the milk bottle dancing with bread on the mat made by uh, cheese. Okay. Oh, I love this movie, but it was long time ago. I have seen this movie, but I love the person, the Anthony Hopkins. He's one of my favorite actor. It really helps when I go to the doctor and they ask me how to remember 5 items, then talk with me and then ask me to tell them. Ah, yes, exactly, Liz. So you can easily remember five, not five, even more than that, and you can startle them. You can surprise them. Yes. Ah, yeah, very nice actor, Anthony Hopkins. Yes. Okay, so thank you everyone for joining, uh, and I hope I could impart a little bit, which I could learn. Yeah, you're most welcome, Liz. And I will meet you everyone next Monday with a new topic, with something more interesting, with something which is good for our mental health and the health of our brain. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Namaste, and have a wonderful week. Bye for now. And we have a YouTube channel. You can find that link on the HUD, or yeah, it's there in the HUD. If you want to check our old session, you will find like almost 9 to 10 sessions are there. So you can just check the YouTube link and you can check our older session. Yes. Thank you so much, Sunny, for sharing. Okay, bye for now.